What's going on, my fellow Jedi and Padawans? What's going on with y'all? Hopefully you guys are loving the content, and if you guys are new to the channel, welcome in. We are going to continue our little god roll guides with some new weapons that got dropped with Act 2 inside of Heresy right here. We got about 4 of them to cover, with the refusal of the call already being covered earlier this week, in between a little bit of a hunter build that we threw out yesterday. But we got ourselves right here the Afterlight, which is a Void Fusion rifle. Very good in my opinion. Not as good as some of the other ones that we have, but with the perks that we got on, some nice interesting combinations. So first off, with the origin traits on this boy, we got 2 of them, as always with these weapons. If you can get that already masterworked version of these weapons, you're going to have both of them with Willing Vessel and Runneth over. First off, a Willing Vessel, dealing damage or defeating targets with this weapon gradually increases stability, handling, reload, and charge rate. Definitely PvP side. When I'm using it, I would throw on Willing Vessel. Our second one that we can get, like I said, if we get those already masterworked versions, is that Runneth over. More what I use in the PvE realm. Reloading near allies actually overflows the magazine. Bows receive faster draw time. Swords receive faster charge rate. So for me, love having the overflow option inside of the PvE realm with the Runneth over. So when we move on to PvE with this bad boy, I personally like corkscrew rifling as our barrel. Kind of a jack of all trades. We get handling, range, and stability with this. If you feel like it's lacking in any of the categories, you could switch it up for something like fluted barrel if you would like, because we're getting +5 in stability, +15 for handling. But I think overall for me, I like having corkscrew, just kind of like I said, jack of all trades, kind of making all of those stats as even as possible. For me, in the second column with our battery, I always go with liquid coils, so we can get that +5 to impact, doing a little bit more on that impact side of things in my personal opinion, which I like the best. But we do have a little bit slower charge time, which in my personal opinion doesn't really change the damage output of this in like the DPS side, if you will, damage per second, because we're making up for it in that increase in damage with 5 impact. So this is what I definitely would go with as your option for battery. Third column, I think we got 3 options for y'all with Lead from Gold, Offhand Strike, as well as Ambitious Assassin. So Lead from Gold, picking up heavy, also grants us ammo for this weapon, so we can basically always have this up, especially if you're throwing on like heavy ammo finder, producing that heavy ammo. You're also going to load this bad boy up, so I do really like Lead from Gold on this. Second option is that Offhand Strike. Final blows with this weapon grant us a range, stability, accuracy when firing from the hip. Definitely if you're getting up close and personal on some of those enemies, using a fusion rifle, firing from the hip is definitely a go-to, or at least my gameplay style. I definitely like firing these from the hip a good amount, especially like I said, if I'm up close and personal with an enemy. Definitely a good option in this column. Last but not least, we got ourselves Ambitious Assassin. Overflows the weapon based on the number of rapid defeats beforehand, and then when we reload, it's going to overflow it. So again, having that extra reloads in there, like if you're doing damage on a boss, something like that, get a couple of those rank and file defeats, reload, you're gonna have some overflow in the magazine, then you can absolutely juice damage. So between these 3, I think your best go-to is probably Lead from Gold or Ambitious Assassin, in my personal opinion. Lead from Gold, you're basically never gonna run out of ammo, which is definitely super clutch, and then Ambitious is a little bit more DPS side. But Offhand Strike, if you're struggling hitting those enemies with it aimed in, definitely go with Offhand Strike like I said, but Lead from Gold, Ambitious, definitely better. Fourth column, we got ourselves a couple of different options. I think for me, I got 2 for sure that are what I would go with a third one being a option, just depending on how you play the game, if I would say. But Reservoir Burst is our first one. We got Destabilizing, and then Adagio, however you want to say it, tomato, tomato. But Reservoir Burst, when our battery is full, our next burst deals additional damage and causes enemies to explode on on death, so Ambitious Assassin with Reservoir Burst, as well if we have that Runneth over, that's going to overflow the magazine. We're going to have multiple shots that have this Reservoir Burst being able to proc, so that's why I think I like having that Ambitious a little bit more, just for me, my personal gameplay style. But like I said, Lead from Gold, also a very good option because you're never going to run out of ammo, at least with this bad boy. So Reservoir Burst, definitely my number one in this column. Adagio right here is after defeating a target, this weapon fires, charges, draws more slowly, but deals increased damage. So we get a 30% damage increase with Adagio, which it does have a little bit 20% decrease in that firing charge time that we got. So you are losing that aspect of it. But again, having 30% damage increase just by getting a defeat on an enemy is not too shabby in the PvE realm. Last but certainly not least, if you're using this bad boy more for the ad clear side of things, you know, dealing with waves and waves of enemies instead of just trying to juice DPS with it, definitely destabilizing is a good option. Probably my second choice on this weapon because those defeats grant a void burst, if you will. The hitting other targets with the void burst makes them volatile and grants us volatile rounds for a short period of time. I love that addition to destabilizing rounds because volatility is absolutely disgusting inside of the PvE realm, especially in this episode with how we have our artifact, and in future seasons episodes when we got void as like the focus point like we do right now. Destabilizing, absolutely disgusting in my personal opinion. So overall with this, I think you would go with destabilizing or that Reservoir Burst on the weapon with either a Lead from Gold or Ambitious Assassin. Definitely your best two combinations, if you will, right there would probably give this thing like a 4.1 maybe for the PvE realm. We definitely got some better options. Like I said, I really like Glacial Chasm. That feels really good. Has some good old range damage on the Glacial Chasm. Also Void pairs very well, but we do got this bad boy that is pretty easy to farm and get a good roll of as well. PvP now, once again, I do think we got some better options like that Zealot's Reward, absolutely disgusting with charge time and range. Even the Glacial Chasm, a little bit slower charge time, but the range definitely outmatches this one. So you got options. This falls like in the middle of those with charge time and range, but I'm going with Small Bore as my barrel, +7 to range, +7 to stability. I do want a charge rate masterwork on this for PvP, at least in my personal opinion. You could throw on range if you wanted to try to stack it out better, but like having that faster charge time for sure. Battery wise, Projection Fuse is what I personally would use, so I can get that +10 range on it. Like I said, because of the masterwork is going to be charge time for me, stacking out range as far as I can with the battery on top of the whatever this is called over here. The barrel is definitely how I would go with it, trying to build it out to range. Third column for this bad boy, we got two options with Discord and Offhand Strike. Discord Final Blows with another weapon grant this weapon increased ADS, accuracy, and airborne effectiveness for a short time when Discord is active. Final Blows also refunds us ammo, not like saying that we're going to have plethora of ammo in the PvP realm, but if a lot of people are using those special ammo weapons, if we're just farming, you know, you can get it up to a full burst for sure. Offhand Strike is our second option right here. Final Blows grant additional range, stability, accuracy when firing from the hip. I do really like this because, again, sometimes firing from the hip for me is a big aspect of my gameplay. If you're up close and personal with those Guardians, which I do like to be a lot of the time, Offhand Strike does feel really, really good, but we are kind of losing that spread, if you will. Like the accuracy cone does spread out that burst a little bit more compared to if you ADS, even though it does help us a lot when this is active. But again, totally up to you and your playstyle between Offhand Strike as well as Discord. Two options in the fourth column. Once again, we got ourselves Cornered as well as Successful Warm-Up. So Cornered, we're going to get faster charge time on this bad boy when we're surrounded by combatants. So, and again, the reason I might use that Offhand Strike, get in there, get that fast charge time, and then absolutely melt some Guardians from the hip firing with this bad boy. And then that other option, Successful successful warm-up. Each final blow increases that charge draw time, or it is decreases, I should say. We're getting 37.5% decrease, so it's going to charge faster than it would beforehand, which, like I said before, having that fast charge time on a fusion rifle in PvP is definitely what you're looking for. One of the reasons why I went with a masterwork of charge time, and then range is your other option, or I should say your other stat that you want as high as you can, in my personal opinion. Some people might like handling as well to be stacked up higher, but it doesn't feel too different, or there's not many options that you can throw on this that don't tank your reload, etc. range, as well as addition to the handling. I know that probably didn't make sense with my ADHD, but you feel me. Between these two, I like successful warm-up a little bit more. So successful warm-up with like a Discord or offhand strike, very, very good, as well as that cornered. I think, like I said before, got some better options in this with other weapons that we got, but would still give this thing about the same 3.8, maybe 3.9 out of 5 for the PvP realm. Got some good options. It's pretty easy to farm inside of the Nether, inside of the Court of Thorns, or whatever it is called. Sorry, that's a book that I read. Akatar, if you know what I mean. All of them sexy fae running around doing their thing, but we got ourselves some pretty good weapons from this episode and Oct 2, so be on the lookout for those. We got ourselves a bunch of builds coming out as well, and again, I really appreciate you guys for always coming back to the channel. Don't be afraid to like, subscribe, hit that bell if you haven't. Also, join up on that Discord. We're trying to make that bad boy pop, have some nice Discord nights, watch some movies, watch some anime. Want to help you guys through raids, GMs, dungeons, etc. So be on the lookout. Don't be afraid to be active in that. But again, appreciate all you guys. I will catch you guys in the next one, which shall be tomorrow. I believe we got ourselves a nice Titan build, so I will catch y'all then. Peace.